Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, Fastyr, good evening and welcome to the first update of the week, rounding up what's been happening on the Isle of Man today. Coming up before 5:30, it's all heating up between the Chief Minister and former Health Minister Laurie Hooper. It could be frosty in Keys tomorrow. More about that shortly. Potentially big moves are afoot in the energy sector. The company eyeing gas extraction off the island's coast reveals bold plans for a second well in the Irish Sea. And how much does it cost to insure an electric vehicle over here? We'll also be checking what's happening weather-wise and seeing what's also going on with the traffic and travel. And as ever, if you'd like to get in touch, you can text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. First, let's join Lewis for a roundup of today's main news headlines.
Fastyr, the Chief Minister, says if an MHK wants to call for a vote of no confidence, they should just get on with it. Last week, Albury Castletown and Maloo MHK Tim Glover said he believed it was time for a vote following Laurie Hooper's resignation as Health Minister. The company, hoping to extract gas off the island's coast, has announced plans to drill a second well in the Irish Sea. Kroger says it's acquired an undeveloped block from another company and appointed a well operator. The RNLI says it understands the frustrations of lifeboat crew working in Douglas, and it remains absolutely committed to providing the capital with a new vessel and suitable station. A consultation is taking place as the current Mersey boat prepares to come out of service next year, and volunteers work out of a temporary base due to the existing station being condemned. And something to be aware of if you're leaving work from Douglas, Victoria Road is now one way between Stanley Place and Broadway in the direction of Broadway. It's for the installation of electric mains cables and will be in place for 4 weeks. In the latest international news and some breaking news, a police officer has been found not guilty of the murder of Chris Cubber in South London in 2022. Martin Blake, who's 40, shot the 24-year-old through the windscreen of a car, which had been linked to a shooting outside a school in Brixton the previous evening. The Kremlin denies any involvement in a ballot in Moldova in which the country's narrowly backed a move for closer ties to the EU in a referendum. The Yes campaign won the vote with a margin of less than 1%. And Richard Ashcroft, the former lead singer of The Verve, will be joining Oasis as a special guest on all of their UK and Ireland shows next year. The Britpop band's reuniting with a worldwide tour. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with the news at 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Sunny spells to start this evening, then cloud is going to increase. There might be a few outbreaks of rain. This will clear overnight. Fresh to strong southwest winds and a minimum temperature overnight of around 10 Celsius. Then tomorrow, dry, lengthy spells of sunshine, light to moderate west or southwest winds. And tomorrow, temperatures will be around 15. And just looking ahead to Wednesday, again, dry with bright or sunny intervals, moderate southerly winds gradually increasing to become strong, and top temperatures again on Wednesday of around 15. So all told, a pretty nice autumn days. Sunset this evening will be at 6 minutes past 6. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 1 minute past 8.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Cannell's Agricultural Supplies have been serving the good folk of the north for over 30 years, supplying homegrown wheats, whole and rolled oats, working clothing, fencing, animal feeds, parts, tools and emergency supplies. Call Julia on 880206 or find Cannell's on Facebook.
Patricia Wild Opticians is celebrating over 30 years of friendly, caring service in Farm Hill and Ramsey. Visit us for professional eye care with stress-free parking. Phone Patricia Wild Opticians on 813 977.
For over 25 years, Langness Maintenance Services have been the block paving specialists, including property maintenance, fencing and landscaping. Fast, reliable and competitive. For a free no-obligation quote, call Paddy on 49667. Langness Maintenance Services, 49667.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio FM. It's coming up to 5 past 5. So, as we've been hearing, the war of words is continuing between the Chief Minister and the former Health Minister. So first, Laurie Hooper was live on Manx Radio's Perspective with Phil Gaughan yesterday, where he said Comyn completely ignored information provided by Manx Care about the impact on service delivery if cuts were made. So, coming up to a week on from Mr Hooper's resignation, does he regret leaving in the way he did?
There's a lot of work to be done in health. I really didn't want to leave that unfinished. I didn't want to leave the staff in the lurch. I didn't want to leave Manx Care without a voice in Comyn. I didn't really want to leave some of the work that was going on across government, actually, because there's lots of work that's being done that is desperately needed. But ultimately, when it comes down to your core principles and your core beliefs, I don't think there's any wiggle room, to be honest. If it's something you believe in, you stand up and say, no, I believe in that, and that's important.
Any regrets about doing things that way? I mean, it is a little bit disrespectful, perhaps?
So my view on these things is courtesy is a two-way street, and if the Chief Minister is going to tell me one thing in the room and then go out and publicly say other things, that's not courtesy. That's not showing a level of respect there. And quite frankly, I knew that if I had done the polite thing and given Alf a letter, in advance, days in advance, he would have found a way to sack me anyway and throw me straight under a bus. I'm quite content, actually, that the way I resigned was the only way, really, of being able to say what I needed to say and be heard without it being lost in all the noise. Council were very clear that they had agreed Manx Care must hold to the current budget envelope, even though they had been presented with a list of what that meant in terms of service cuts, because we were clear, the Manx Care were very clear, that if you want to save the kind of money they were asking them to save in the timescale available, you're looking at quite drastic measures, actually, to curtail spending. And I don't really know how he can stand up and brazenly tell Tim, that wasn't something that they did, when that's exactly what they did. And the conversation around should we be charging for things, should it be free at the point of use, again, Council were quite clear. The wording that the draft minute outlines is that they agreed there was no need for an immediate change to that principle. Well, the last time this government said that, they said there was no immediate need to raise taxes, and then 5 months later they raised taxes. That is exactly the language that they were using around the 2% tax rise when they were talking to the public. There is no immediate need to make a change, but you've heard the Chief Minister in his own remarks saying he's going to change things, he wants the mandate to be changed, and that's absolutely fine, he's entitled to those views. I fundamentally disagree with him. I don't think we should be charging people for GP appointments and hospital stays and ambulance call-outs. I don't think that is okay, but that's the route he wants to take us down.
That's the former Health Minister Laurie Hooper, who was talking to Phil Gaughan live on Perspective yesterday. You can listen back to that programme in full at manxradio.com. Well, the Chief Minister hit back at some of those comments made by Mr Hooper, speaking live on Manx Radio's Breakfast this morning. Alfred Cannon said it was important people weren't distracted by the exchange of views over the past week, but instead understand the issues faced by Manx Care and the solutions available. Mr Cannon said it was irresponsible and in some ways unethical for the former minister to let costs rise after bringing in that tax increase.
The extra £43 million that was going into health, the 10% tax increase, was done on the basis that the organisation had enough money to operate properly this year. And that was always the position. It has not been the clear position that actually health was not financially planning properly, that there was an audit report that said that health was not in a good position, and subsequently all this has come out following Laurie Hooper's resignation. Look, we've got to pick this up. I've spoken to a number of Tynwald colleagues over the weekend, and they all want to see this brought to resolution. It is a very, very serious matter. Laurie has walked away from the position. That's fine. I and my colleagues and many other members in Tynwald now want to deal with this issue, and we've got to deal with it quickly. We're only a few months away from the next budget, and we've got to get ourselves into a position where we can tell the nation that we are properly in control of our finances.
Mr Hooper, as part of his conversation with Phil yesterday, he did touch on the issue of a motion of no confidence. It's something we heard Mr Glover mention last week as well. Do you at this moment feel you still have the confidence of the House of Keys?
I've spoke to a number of my colleagues yesterday. They want to see this issue sorted out and resolved, and for us to get on. Look, that's a matter. If Tim Glover wants to get on with this, he needs to get on with this, but he does also need to stop destabilising the work of the parliamentary bodies and also the government as well. My focus today and for the next few weeks will be on getting this resolved. I've brought in a good team around me. I'll be engaging with Tynwald colleagues imminently, I expect. And I've just got to get on with sorting this out. You have to remember, Laurie Hooper resigned and walked away from the difficulties. Council and many others on the floor of Tynwald and Chris Thomas and David Ashford and others that I've spoken to just want to get involved and get this resolved.
That is the Chief Minister, Alfred Cannon, who's speaking live on Breakfast this morning. Again, you can listen back to that interview in full. It went on for a good few minutes if you go to manxradio.com and find the latest episode of the newscast. It's gone 5:10. The company hoping to extract gas off the island's coast has announced plans to drill a second well in the Irish Sea. Kroger says it's acquired an undeveloped block from another company and appointed a well operator. Sean Cowper has the details.
The Ronaldsway gas field is off the coast of Blackpool, near the existing South Morecambe gas field. Kroger is aiming to drill an appraisal well late next year, with a view to then moving its rig from the Ronaldsway field to the Independence well off the coast of Macclesfield. It says the two areas share almost identical drilling and testing requirements, and delivering a two-well programme comes with logistical and cost benefits. The firm has also confirmed it's received accreditation with the North Sea Transition Authority and has formed a new company to take steps towards participating in the renewable energy sector. In a statement, Kroger says the Department of Infrastructure is committed to ensuring its IOM Kroger Productions licence is compliant to facilitate drilling and is working with the DOI towards that aim. Outlining its business plan, the company says it aims to sell low carbon intensity pipeline gas to the Isle of Man, UK and Europe, displacing higher carbon options like LNG and coal. It also forecasts that the project will contribute very significantly to the Isle of Man economy through royalties and taxes, and says it will be part of the Isle of Man and UK energy transition process.
Sean Cowper reporting. You can find out more at manxradio.com. Coming up to 5:12, some business news now, and the Chamber of Commerce has expressed doubt that government's population and jobs targets are achievable. A Council of Ministers report entitled Inward Migration Incentives and Disincentives outlines strategy goals which include creating new jobs by 2032 and raising the population by 2037. We know that some of the details of that were discussed after the government conference, but in response the Chamber questions the targets and expresses concern that government strategy behind the targets will meet the future needs of the island's economy. Simon Richardson reports.
Despite its reservations, the Chamber says it broadly welcomes the Comyn migration report, but calls for more talks with businesses. It believes the jobs target and the plan to achieve GDP of £10 billion by 2032 is ambitious, but warns that while inward migration is a key component, it must be aligned with the island's economic needs and sectoral gaps. Chamber says a lack of comprehensive data to support the proposed incentives and disincentives is another major worry, and the development of a robust data collection and management system to track the demographics, skill sets and economic contributions of new migrants is therefore essential.
Simon Richardson reporting. The stock market report now, brought to us by Ramsey Crookall, says that UK and European markets were lower as investors awaited key corporate earnings and monitored elevated Middle East tensions. Oil prices were broadly steady on worries about demand in China, the world's top oil importer, and an easing of concerns about potential supply disruptions in the Middle East. Gold surged as growing uncertainty surrounding the US presidential election and the Middle East war added to gold's rally, already fuelled by expectations of interest rates easing. We're looking at the commodities. Gold finished up 0.03% at $2,722. Brent up 1.04% at $73.68. At the close, the FTSE 100 was off 0.48% at 8,318. And a short time ago, the Dow Jones was trading off 0.92% at 42,879. And the Nasdaq was off 0.57% at 18,383.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
3:15.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, the good news is nothing to report from the police on the road, so hopefully all is well. Certainly a lot better than it was this time yesterday. But again, if you spot anything when you're out and about, do let us know. All okay down at the airport, and the sailings are back to normal as well. The Manannan from Liverpool is going to leave Liverpool at 7:15, getting in here at 10. The Manxman is supposed to get in at around about 20 to 7 this evening, so it's a little bit later than the normal schedule, but it is still down to depart at 7:45 and getting back into Heysham at 10:30 tonight.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
It's coming up to 16 minutes past 5. So, do you own an electric vehicle? And if so, how much does it cost to insure? Or perhaps you've thought about getting one, but the price of cover has put you off. Well, we've been talking about this on Manx Radio after a listener got in touch with us to say they were quoted £12,000 for a luxury EV insurance through a local broker. Well, Tony, who's also an EV owner, got in touch on Man in Line this lunchtime to tell us about his experience.
Up to last June, I was paying for my EV about £350, and then they put it up. My previous insurer wanted £2,500 from £350, but I managed to get off island for £450.
Okay, and what vehicle do you have?
Well, am I allowed to say, mate?
You can say, yeah, by all means.
I drive a Tesla, so that's in the category of luxury cars. And part of the problem, one of my insurers wouldn't insure the Tesla because it's capable of autonomous driving. And so in the event of an accident, who's to blame? Is it the driver? Is it the car? Is it the maker, the manufacturer? Who's to blame? But that's not the issue here. I think just there's a lot of misinformation as far as EVs are concerned everywhere. And I think the insurer who quoted £12,500 just didn't want to insure for whatever reason.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, they just wanted to frighten the person away. Yeah. So if your vehicle is off the road, do you get a car to drive around? Do they give you another EV?
Yes. With the insurance that I've got, yes, they'd give me another EV, yes. I had a prang, somebody reversed into me, and my car was off the road for a couple of weeks, and I got another EV, yes.
And was your vehicle, was it just body work? Was that repaired over here?
No, it wasn't repaired over here because it would have affected my warranty, but it was just body work, yes. Somebody reversed into me, and it hit my driver's side door. So I did take it off island, but I could have had it done on the island, but because I didn't want to affect the warranty, I took it off island.
What would you say to somebody who doesn't drive an EV? How would you sell the concept of driving an EV?
Yes, no doubt they are more expensive than ICE cars and internal combustion. However, they're quieter, they're more efficient, less on servicing. I think it is the future, to be honest. It is the future.
That is Tony, an EV owner who got in touch on Man in Line this lunchtime talking about the insurance cost on EVs. Remember, if there's something that you'd like to talk about, you can always get in touch with Man in Line, even out of hours, 682 631. You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio. It's just gone 18 minutes past 5. We've been talking about the Chief Minister and the Health Minister. They've both been live on Manx Radio over the past 24 hours. We know this is a story that has been developing since the Health Minister, Laurie Hooper, resigned in Tynwald last Tuesday. I'm joined in the studio now by Lewis Foster because, Lewis, in the past few minutes we've had a development in this story.
That's right. Well, we heard as well the Chief Minister reacting to suggestions from Albury Castletown and Maloo MHK Tim Glover about a call for a vote of no confidence, and the Chief Minister, Alfred Cannon, saying if you're going to do so, just get on with it. Well, we have seen now in the last few minutes an email from Albury Castletown and Maloo MHK Tim Glover saying, just to confirm, I have tabled a motion of no confidence in the Chief Minister for next week's sitting of the House of Keys. He says, I could have used standing orders to force this tomorrow, but I'm aware there are ministers absent and it would have been a straight vote. This way means there will be a debate, and this email means you have more time to prepare ahead of the order paper being published.
OK, Lewis, thank you very much indeed. So that's news that's broken in the past few minutes. As ever, you'll be able to find out more shortly at manxradio.com. And we will, of course, be approaching Tim Glover for comment. And I understand we have already been in touch with the Chief Minister as well. So that is happening, we understand, a week tomorrow in the House of Keys. It's coming up to 5:20. Plans have been put forward to alter the schedule for the 2025 Southern 100 road races. Rob Pritchard has the details.
Among the potential alterations would be the introduction of a second practice session on the opening day of Bank Holiday Monday, the 7th of July, between 1:45pm and 4pm. This would run before the usual evening qualifying slot that day between 6pm and 9:40pm. Southern 100 Race Secretary George Peach says they believe the extra Monday session would ease pressure on the following evening slot, especially for newcomers to the meeting. Elsewhere, 2 contingency sessions are being proposed. One of those would be in the afternoon on Wednesday the 9th of July between 1:15pm and 3:15pm, and the other on the evening of Thursday the 10th of July between 6pm and 8:30pm. Mr Peach adds the Wednesday contingency would only be used if Monday or Tuesday sessions are lost, and the Thursday evening would only be activated if all or part of Championship Day, the same day, is called off. Outside of this, there would be regular evening practice times between 6pm and 9:40pm on Tuesday the 8th of July and Wednesday the 9th of July. Furthermore, the Championship Race Day programme would also be unchanged, with the Ballown course to close twice on the Thursday, first in the morning from 9:30am until 12:45pm, before shutting again at 1:30pm until 4:45pm. The schedule, along with the proposed changes, are now subject to necessary road closure orders being approved. You can also see the plans at manxradio.com.
Rob Pritchard reporting there on possible changes to the Southern 100 schedule. We're going to stay with sport now, and we're joined by Darren Timpson. Good evening, Darren.
Good evening, Beth. Starting with FC Isle of Man, captain Sean Doyle has maintained the importance for the Ravens to stay level-headed after the side moved into the playoff positions following their 3-1 win over Longrange Town on Saturday. The Manx side moved up to 4th in the North West Counties Football League due to teams competing in the FA Vars Cup over the weekend, but Doyle says the team's message is to stay focused on ourselves.
That's the message that Paul keeps banging on about. It's just one game at a time, stick to what we're doing, and then we just worry about ourselves, don't worry about what everyone else around us is doing, because things change all the time. We see players and teams change constantly, and one will play like Longridge in the season, and their team was completely different today. So yeah, just keep sticking to the plan, keep doing what we're doing. Man, it's working well right now. Obviously with a few hiccups in between, but it kind of shows how strong the league is. Everyone's beating each other, and we just have to focus on what we're doing and then see where we're at come March, April time. That was one of the messages that Gaz at half time when he came in. I think the key word was complacency. I think we are kind of susceptible to do that sometimes. I think we can come in, go 2-0 up, sit back, defend, and not kind of do what we have been doing to get in the lead. So yeah, it was successful to do it for 90 minutes and stick to the plan. And I think we knew ourselves that the first half was dominant. So yeah, it was nice the second half to defend for our lives at times, but also not get complacent, stick to what we're doing. Like I said a couple of times, and just nice to come away with the win, especially after them beating us at the ball 1-0 earlier in the season.
Ravens captain Sean Doyle. Elsewhere, Sir Mark Cavendish has announced he'll be swapping pedalling for running as he aims to compete in the 2025 Paris Marathon. The Manx Missile revealed in an interview with Men's Health that one of his plans to stay active after retiring is to run with his brother. Also in the interview, the 39-year-old reaffirmed that he will not compete at the Tour de France again, but he is still contracted to Astana, Kazakhstan until December this year. It has been reported his last race could be the Tour de France Prudential Singapore Criterium in Singapore in November. On to athletics, it was confirmed over the weekend that Isle of Man athlete Nikki Arthur has been nominated for the 2024 Scottish Women in Sportswoman of the Year award. The long-distance competitor is one of the 3 finalists for the award alongside cyclists Nia Evans and Jenny Hall. Arthur won the women's class in the Spine Challenger North event at the Grueling Spine Race meeting back in January. The award ceremony is due to take place on Friday, 1st of November. And finally, Michael Evans has been announced announced he'll be competing at the Macau Grand Prix in November.
Thank you very much indeed, Darren. 23.5 minutes past 5. The Royal National Lifeboat Institution says it remains absolutely committed to providing Douglas RNLI with a new lifeboat and suitable station. A consultation and data review is being launched later this month to assess which vessel would be best suited to the capital. Now, this follows frustrations about a lack of progress on finding a new boat and suitable base for volunteers after the existing station was condemned. Joe Partner is head of region for Wales West and the Isle of Man.
We hope to be in a position to provide our regional recommendation towards the end of the year. That recommendation will then be submitted into our executive team and any decision will be ratified by the trustees. So I'm hopeful that certainly in the first 3 months of 2025 we'll be in a position to announce that decision. The Mersey-class lifeboat, which is in place at Douglas, is beyond its expected lifespan as it is now, and it will be coming out of operational service by the end of 2025.
Will this consultation consider a new lifeboat base as well as a new lifeboat?
The consultation process is about reviewing the lifeboat to be placed at Douglas. We are continuing to work closely with our partners to secure a long-term home for our volunteers and the lifeboat at Douglas.
Why haven't you been able to secure a long-term solution for a new lifeboat station at the RNLI up to this point?
Despite our ongoing commitments and investment, we have been unable to find a suitable site, which may be for either operational or cost-related reasons. The RNLI has invested a great deal of time and resource in that process, but at the moment we have been unable to secure a long-term location for Douglas Lifeboat Station. However, we remain absolutely committed to Douglas Lifeboat Service, and that work will continue to enable us to ensure that the life-saving service at Douglas continues for many, many years to come.
That is the RNLI's Head of Region for Wales, West and the Isle of Man, Joe Partners, speaking to Chanel there. And you can hear more from Joe in the latest episode of Newscast, which is available now at manxradio.com. Well, just to reiterate the news that has broken in the past few minutes, that we have heard and have seen an email from Tim Glover, MHK, confirming that he has tabled a motion of no confidence in the Chief Minister for next week's sitting of the House of Keys. That's the 29th of October. He says, I could have used standing orders to force this tomorrow, but I am aware, he says, there are ministers absent and it would have been a straight vote. This way means there will be a debate, and this email means you will have more time to prepare. This is an email sent to all MHKs ahead of the order paper being published. Tim says, I have not contacted any media, but I realise I can't prevent any of you doing so. Well, clearly we have seen this letter now. They will obviously become aware when the order paper is published. There will be much more on this on Manx Radio in the coming days. We will contact the Chief Minister and also Tim Glover as well. But that is happening in the House of Keys next week. Well, that is all from Update this evening. Thank you, as ever, for being with us. Much more on all tonight's top stories at manxradio.com and also on our Facebook page as well. Coming up next, it's Agenda with Phil Gaughan, and tonight he's talking to the Treasury Minister, Dr. Alex Allinson, after his autumn statement. I think it's fair to say it was somewhat overshadowed in Tynwald last week, but lots to talk about and dissect after that. Then it's Greatest Hits Live with Jason Moore from 6 p.m. Time for Brass with Ian Cottier from 9, and Dave Moore will be here with you from 10 with After Hours. Have a lovely evening, whatever you're up to. We will see you back on Update from 5 p.m. tomorrow. And remember, we will have coverage of the House of Keys tomorrow from 10 a.m. We'll also be in the Legco chamber as well, following what happens in there as the assisted dying legislation is on their order paper. So, yeah, have a great evening and we'll be back with you tomorrow.